Total Drama Revenge of the Island was the first season to introduce an entirely different cast, and it was a change that I can understand needed to happen eventually, but the way they handled it could have been done a lot better. Sure, it's not as bad as Pacateo or All-Stars, especially All-Stars, but it's a season I don't consider bad, but I also don't consider it very good either. You know, it's right in the middle in my opinion. So I have my trusty hammer out again, ready to fix Total Drama Revenge of the Island. But before we begin, be sure to click that like and subscribe button so I know you like my content. Without further interruptions, let's begin. Now this is going to be a little more complicated compared to my fixing Total Drama action video, but again I just want to go out of my way and say I don't think Revenge of the Island is a bad season at all. It just had some things that could have been greatly improved upon. So let's just start already and bring up the first issue, and that is fairly common for Total Drama at this point, and that is the lack of characters. I don't understand why the writers think less characters is better, because you're having less storyline and plot points to further explore, especially a season with an entirely different cast. I mean, we're not given really enough time to know these characters. So if you're going to keep the character list short, maybe have non-elimination rounds, so that way we can see more into what the characters are thinking and what strategies they could use to stay in the game. And you can't even really say 13 characters, because can anyone really say Stacy was at all relevant? I mean, the crew only really added her for the first boot, and it really does show. She was literally just a filler character and nothing more. Obviously not that I wanted her to stick around anyway, since she's just really annoying. I think everyone's pretty well aware of that at this point, so definitely replace her with a much better new character. I mean, at least Total Drama Action had the Aftermath show. This season doesn't have really anything. So for what all we got this season, it really wasn't much, and that gets into our next point. The amount of wasted characters. They cut out so many characters before they could really even do anything, and Dawn is one of them. For what screen time she got, she didn't do diddly squat. She pretty much sat there and read people's auras. She was basically a female DJ, but without any character progression. Now I know I put Dawn on my top 8 most underrated characters list, but the more I rewatch this season, the more I'm starting to disagree with myself, at least in the past. She doesn't really do much to warrant her massive fan base, but don't get me wrong, I think she's an okay character. They just could have done a lot more with her character, you know? B is another one that should have 100% not have been eliminated so early. He was incredibly smart and helped in a lot of challenges, from making a rocket couch and even making an ice mirror to melt the other team's snow castle. Even though he didn't speak, I think he was still a pretty cool character that they could have done a lot more with. The only person he really interacts with is Dawn, so maybe they could have them make an alliance or something and have some pretty nice combos and challenges. It really would do Dawn's character some more justice and give her something more to actually do. The next issue I have is Dakota. Her whole character is that she's a spoiled rich girl who views herself too highly. She kinda reminds me of Taylor from the Redonkulous race. She's just a little less extreme on the whole I'm better than everyone else. But then they decide to turn her into a mutant after becoming in contact with toxic waste, which I wasn't the biggest fan of that whole part of the season. It just took away from the show being a reality show. But as far as Dakota goes, I mean, I do appreciate how it gives her character a realization that she's not above anyone, and then she even starts dating Sam, but they really could have done that in a way without turning her into a literal monster. Now this one isn't the biggest issue, but it was still enough to bother me to put it on the list, and that is Zeke. I hate the whole gag of him returning as a zombie. That was getting really stale by this point, and even more in All-Stars, they should have just turned him back into a human and dropped the whole zombie shtick. Not the biggest issue, but still it's one I would have changed. Now getting into Mike, he is a wild card to me, because I like Mike as Mike, but the way they handled his multiple personalities wasn't the best. Like, Vito being this strong just seems like too much of a stretch to me, and at times he looks stronger than Lightning. I just don't see it. Svetlana, same thing, I just don't see it. Overall, Mike as Mike I think was a pretty cool character. Like, I get they wanted to make Mike stand out, but the way they executed it just wasn't it. Also, Mike pawning off not telling Zoe the truth about his condition went on for far too long. I do like how it made Scott shine as the antagonist a bit more, But from Mike's perspective, at that point, just tell Zoe the truth. I mean, you're being blackmailed, and your multiple personalities, are running around wild, especially Vito being with Anne Maria. You're definitely not hiding this any further, man. So we're left with watching Mike struggle hard, especially in Grand Chef Auto. Like, come on, man. Just tell her the truth, seriously. This overall is just a small nitpick, but it's still something worth mentioning. Speaking of Anne Maria, her elimination was completely stupid, and to me it was a really lame way for her to get out. It's like the writers didn't know how to end her character, so that's just what we got. At least with Brick, he went out in a heroic way, and now he's one of the most underrated characters where a lot of people want him to come back in a new season. Anne Maria could have had a lot more storylines. Maybe her trying to get Zoe eliminated since, they had a small feud when Vito took over, so there could have been some more potential there. Lastly, as a lot of you probably expected, this was the season where Chris pretty much started going completely insane, not giving the slightest care. I mean, he went to prison at the end of the season for the toxic waste contamination, which again I think was a little too gimmicky, especially turning Dakota into a monster mutant. Overall, this season just had Chris going completely downhill. I mean, yeah, Action World Tour, he also had, a lot of sus moments, but in Revenge of the Island, it's completely different. He completely just didn't care, point blank, and they completely fumbled the bag with Chris's character. And from that point on, he was like bloodthirsty, bro. Overall, Revenge of the Island, not the best, not the worst. It had some pretty cool characters, but there definitely should have been a lot more. But what do you guys think? Was Revenge of the Island a good season or a bad season? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright viewers, that's the end of fixing Total Drama Revenge of the Island on our list. Let me know what list you'd like to see next. With all that said, I look forward to seeing you with our next list.